There's been a serious car accident. A man is trapped and suffering internal injuries. Using the jaws of life, the emergency services work quickly to free the man and whisk him off to hospital. More interesting than the movies, the skills of emergency crews acting out real-life crises at Horseshoe Beach today were given the thumbs up from the crowd. The first Emergency Management and Mutual Aid Expo was proving to be a huge success, attracting up to 3,000 curious onlookers. The event aimed to give the public a behind-the-scenes look at how emergencies are handled and how people can help create a safer community.
Well, it's been very good. We've had a lot of response actually from the public with questions as to what you do with this and how you approach that particular scene.
Aside from the bravado, emergency equipment was also on show, providing a chance for industry to update its safety procedures as well.
One of the objectives was to invite the mines down here just for that purpose, to have a look at what they need to go back and coordinate on their own sites and how they could go about simulating an emergency on their sites for training.
Simone Cobb, NBN News.
The proposed hotels on facing blocks on Wharf Road have sparked a war of words for weeks. But today, the heavy weapons were wheeled out.
We'll be lodging an objection to the Owens development today at Council.
Well, I find that suggestion quite strange.
The backers of the $40 million Honeysuckle Holiday Park Inn Suites claim the development application of the equally expensive Intercontinental Hotel could be invalid.
Well, primarily it's the height. At present, that site is owned for 8 stories and the plans, that is Owens' plans, show a 10-storey development.
2 weeks ago, Gary Fielding, who is the manager of the planning department, was asked if our development application complied, and his response was, and I quote, that our application complied.
The public exhibition of the Richard Owens Investments-backed Intercontinental Hotel was supposed to end today, but has been extended until March 3. Newcastle Council had not received one objection to the proposal until its rival's complaint today.
Well, we went to great pains, Richard, to see that we don't inhibit access to the foreshore. I mean, 46% of our site is open space.
But the 4-storey Holiday Inn proposal is expected to face objections of its own tonight at an extraordinary meeting of Newcastle Council. Under consideration, Honeysuckle's application to have its land on the foreshore rezoned for commercial use. Some community groups say the Holiday Inn Hotel would block access to the harbour. Honeysuckle says nearly half of the land will be open space. Newcastle Council will make a recommendation tonight before voting on the issue at its regular meeting tomorrow night. If the rezoning application is rejected, the hotel could fold before it gets its first guest. Richard O'Leary, NBN News. Mines Minister Bob Martin was like a child at Christmas as he watched the unwrapping of tender applications that could reap the state government tens of millions of dollars. That money will buy the licence to explore 7,000 hectares of land at Saddlers Creek in the Upper Hunter Valley. It's believed to be rich in thermal coal and ripe for open cut and/or underground mining. 4 companies threw their hat into the ring by today's deadline, including CIM Resources, South Africa's Ingwe, the Hunter Valley's Camberwell Coal and Holland's Strait Coal. The winning tender will be announced in 3 months, but the first mine is still at least 4 years away. The Mount Arthur North Seam near Saddlers Creek is expected to be an even bigger coal reserve. Its winning tender will be announced early next year. Richard O'Leary, NBN News.
In 1991, 13-year-old Andrew Bridge was on his way to school when he was hit and killed by a train at Lisrow Station. It was a dash made by many of his friends, and although a coronial inquest resulted in a footbridge over the station, parents are still terrified. Hundreds of students are now battling the Pacific Highway. Despite the coroner's recommendations, the bridge wasn't extended across the main road, and parents say until this is done, there'll be another senseless tragedy.
It's really sickening to see what they have to go through every day. It's only a matter of time before one of the children actually coming to or going from school is going to be killed.
Their appeals to government have so far been ignored. While wreaths line the street in memory of others killed on this stretch, they say bureaucrats have conveniently forgotten.
And I think they've got to start caring, because lives are going to be lost if they don't.
It's been a frustrating 6-year battle for these parents, but they say they're not prepared to give up. A public meeting will be held at the school on the 4th of March, the PNC planning to generate more community support. Sarah Griffiths, NBN News.
The 45-year-old prisoner was alone on day release, working on a community project at the Rothbury Riot Museum near Cessnock. At about 8 o'clock this morning, two men wearing balaclavas emerged from the surrounding bush and fired several shots at the inmate, all of which missed. The museum caretaker, who ran to the prisoner's aid, wasn't so lucky. While the prisoner ran for his life, the caretaker was ordered to lie on the ground and was struck on the back of the head, later requiring several stitches. Police won't speculate on the reason for the attack.
Not at the moment. We're still investigating the reasons for it.
It's believed the inmate was Graham Abbo Henry, a known associate of notorious killer Arthur Neddy Smith. He'd been serving a 6-year sentence for malicious wounding and was eligible for parole next month. Police quickly established a command post and began sweeps of the area. 2 handguns and articles of clothing were found in a wheelie bin in a nearby street. Several kilometres away, police found a Commodore sedan abandoned on a dirt road. It's believed the Commodore was stolen from the Sydney suburb of Cogra. It's then thought the 2 gunmen made their escape in a maroon Toyota Land Cruiser.
Described short, solid, build, one possibly with an Irish accent.
Police continued their search of bushland around the shooting scene for most of the day.
I'm satisfied that it doesn't involve the local community, that the local community can feel safe.
Prison authorities say for his own safety, the inmate won't be leaving the Cessnock prison grounds on day release again prior to his parole. Phil Hind, NBN News.
Day 2 of the carnival at Broadmeadow Racecourse, and good news for the Newcastle Jockey Club, with a better crowd than yesterday's disappointing turnout for the Coca-Cola Amateur Classic. Despite the bigger numbers, the NJC is still considering splitting the 2-day carnival. All eyes were on race 8, the $100,000 Daewoo Newmarket Handicap over 1,400 metres. Money changed hands in what punters described as an even field. But by race time, the money was on the Gay Waterhouse train Sprint By.
Confiscate goes up to join Mansell Bay. Magic Road the centre. It's on the outside. Confiscate racing to the lead of the 250. It's in front of Secret Savings. The American horse is coming back at it. Confiscate on the outside. Secret Savings the inside. Die ever so confident on Secret Savings. He goes for the whip now. Secret Savings coming at Confiscate. Secret Savings, Confiscate. They hit the line and Secret Savings won the Newmarket.
Gay Waterhouse's charge, Secret Savings paid $9.60 and $3.80, Confiscate $3.90, and Over the Rising in a protest $13.90. The Quinella $57.90, the Trifecta $3,870.80. The Stallion now has a 100% record.
And 2 starts in Australia for 2 wins, so 100% record. He'll go straight to the Doncaster and he'll be very, very hard to beat.
The race was marred by an ugly fall near the turn, jockey Jason Taylor breaking a leg after falling from his Mount Vigil. With the future of BHP's Newcastle Steelworks hanging in the balance, the region's leaders are encouraging diversification. Cargill Australia has taken up the challenge by opening a $35 million oilseed recycling plant on Kooragang Island. Canola, sunflower and soybean seeds will be transported by road to the plant, where they'll be processed and shipped overseas. Newcastle's excellent transport infrastructure was a major drawcard for the company.
The port area, the rail system and the road infrastructure is all excellent, and this should be able to allow us to be competitive on a world-class basis.
It's Cargill's 5th oilseed recycling plant in Australia, the first established at Narrabri in the state's northwest in 1972. The oilseed industry is a rapidly growing one, the company here for the long term.
Our legacy has been to completely reinvest any earnings that we might make in an area. So yes, we're here to stay and hopefully for a long, long time.
The plant commences operating next month. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
With the recent hepatitis A outbreak in Wallace Lake on the fringes of the Hunter Valley, the launch of the Environmental Health Plan couldn't have been more timely. In a bid to improve the general well-being of the public and reduce the risk of illness and death, councils and various medical services joined forces to create the strategy.
People's concern has to do with air quality, has to do with the quality of water. I think that the oyster problem at the moment is an example of that, with contamination, waste.
By the year 2001, the plan aims to have 95% of all children in the Hunter immunised, reduce respiratory admissions to hospitals, make a major cut in hazardous waste and see fatal road crashes down by a quarter.
First of all, we identified the hazards in the air, in the water and so on, and their potential health effects. And then we collectively identified what strategies are needed to control them.
With the debilitating Ross River fever on the increase, disease-carrying mosquitoes will also be targeted in the campaign. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
Spartacus paid $5.40 and $1.80. The trifecta $177.10. Ken Grande, the unplaced favourite. The next at Caulfield was the Futurity Stakes over 1,400 metres. The field boasting racing's new star of the track, Morwad. The favourite paid $1.50 and $1.20, Shame $3.20, and there was insufficient runners for a third dividend. Racing was also at Rose Hill, the country's best 3-year-olds vying for the Canterbury Guineas. The winner paid $5.70 and $2.20, the trifecta nearly $500.
Paramedics spent up to 15 minutes trying to resuscitate the drowned man once he'd been pulled from the water, but it was all to no avail. The 31-year-old Sydney man had been spearfishing off rocks at Fraser Park with his older brother when tragedy struck at around 9:30 this morning.
The brother got out of the water and his younger brother was attempting to get out of the water and got hit by a wave and washed into a small cave in the rocks.
The other fisherman then jumped back into the water, trying unsuccessfully to free his brother from the blowhole.
He's yelled for help. No one's heard him at first. He's got out of the water, he's run over to a lifebuoy on the beach and taken that back and jumped in the water again.
By then, a group of nearby surfers had come to the man's aid, risking their own lives to drag him clear of the treacherous headland.
Did some deep water resus on him as soon as we got him out of the hole. As I was blowing into his lungs, I realised they were all full of water and that he'd probably been in the hole for 10 or 15 minutes before the lady reached us.
Fraser Park has gained a notorious reputation for drownings, with a number of deaths occurring on the rocks even in moderate seas. It's unknown if the two men were familiar with the area. The 33-year-old brother was taken to Wyong District Hospital, suffering minor cuts and shock. Simone Cobb, NBN News. With the flames quickly brought under control at the Stevenson Avenue house, firemen worked frantically to disconnect the gas. But with the main pipe underground, firefighters had difficulty locating it before the gas company arrived.
With the arrival of the gas company, the two worked together and in a short time they located the pipe and crushed the supply to the house.
The owner of the house had been mowing the lawn at around 3 this afternoon when the blades cut the copper gas pipe.
Well, at this stage we think it's from the pilot light of the actual gas heater hot water system, and it built up a gas supply there and just ignited.
Coincidentally, it's the second fire in the house in 18 months. A man died when an electrical fault sparked a blaze in the front room. Meanwhile, firefighters were called to another blaze, this time a house in Delaret Square at Waratah West. The rear of the home was gutted and a fireman taken to hospital for smoke inhalation. Simone Cobb, NBN News. The creations of budding artists throughout the Hunter and Menning districts have graced the walls of the Newcastle Region Library. More than 150 works make up the collection, boasting a range of talents and techniques. The exhibition is the product of a visual arts program which invites renowned local artists to workshop with gifted school children.
Well, it's a lot of talent that's already there that the students don't get a chance to nurture because of the time factors involved in the schools, and here they can actually, without having to pay for classes outside of school, they can go and use their talent.
The program, made possible through a $15,000 grant from Newcastle Permanent, also gives children never before exposed to art the chance to create. Since its inception 8 years ago, Jenny Watson says the project has encouraged more students to take up art.
More students are pursuing art, not only at tertiary levels but also at home. They'll do art for leisure and just get into it as something that they can enjoy.
The exhibition runs till the 22nd of March. Simone Cobb, NBN News.
Victoria Street has become ghostly with the relocation of many businesses and shops to the new marketplace. However, Taree Chamber of Commerce has a vision for the main street. It believes the street could now become an entertainment centre. Anne Buck believes this trend towards mall-style shopping could only enhance the value of the main street.
A large number of areas do go to malls, but in other areas where they've had malls for a period of time, they are now going back to strip shopping. So I don't think we'll ever lose strip shopping like existed in Victoria Street.
However, many businesses believe they will suffer from the increased competition, but Anne Buck believes this is only temporary.
I think what we will see is a definite downtrend for businesses here. However, if they are wise, if they offer efficient, good quality service, curiosity shopping will last 1 to 3 months.
In conjunction with the Taree bypass and the beautification scheme proposed by Council, the Chamber believes this could be the perfect opportunity to give Victoria Street a much-needed facelift. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
The drawn-out drama over the hotels on Newcastle Harbour continues. Richard Owens proposed a hotel on one side of Wharf Road, the Honeysuckle Corporation on the other. In a letter sent to council management today, Richard Owens Investments claimed the mayor has a conflict of interest as both a councillor and member of the Honeysuckle board.
What we're looking for is a fair go and a level playing field. And at the moment you've got a situation where, in my opinion, effectively the referee is wearing a Honeysuckle jersey, and I don't think that's appropriate.
The issue was raised at last week's special council meeting to discuss the two hotels. Mayor Hees claiming his legal advice was to the contrary.
We've had legal advice to the contrary, so yes, it would be interesting to know what advice he actually had.
However, in a turnabout, Mayor Greg Hees said this afternoon he's seeking more legal advice on the issue. It's now uncertain whether the hotel issue will be discussed at tonight's council meeting. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
What's happened is we've had a fire in the dwelling, which appears to have gone from the ground floor up into the top floor extension. And on arrival, we found the fire was burning fairly fiercely.
The first take of many for the Newcastle Knights, players, coaching staff and officials joining to announce the first grade team for Sunday's match against St George. Apart from the absence of star halfback Andrew Johns, all is looking good for the ARL kickoff. Paul Harrigan leads the team again, while young Leo Dinover replaces Johns. Dinover was outstanding in the Knights' trial against Sydney City on Friday, and Malcolm really has no doubts he'll meet the high expectations of first grade.
Leo's a very confident player. He's got a very high skill level. Terrific vision, an excellent kicking game. I think he'll complement Matthew Johns in organising the team and take some pressure off him at the same time.
Matthew Gidley starts on the sideline but really says he'll play a key role on the interchange.
And he can play in any one of 4 positions, stand-off, centre, wing, fullback. There is no problems. He's a very capable young lad.
Knights Dragons battles are always hard fought. It should be no different on Sunday. A few old Novocastrians will make the trip back to Marathon, this time in the red and white. Former Knight Darren Tracy will play under coach David Waite. Jamie Onsko will make the trip, but he won't start because of injury.
I try a little harder, be a bit more persistent in what they do, so it's going to be more of a physical match, probably more feeling.
And the Knights have announced almost $13,000 was raised from the charity match on Friday, proceeds to NBN's telethon. Jonathan Upton, NBN News.
It's been a tough 5 months for the Rundle's workforce and management alike. Since Westpac called in the receivers in November, the future of the 90-year-old clothing company has been under a cloud. If the company is to have the receiver discharged, it must deposit $600,000 into a solicitor's trust account by close of business tomorrow. Earlier this week, Rundle's owners were still $100,000 short, but an appeal for help from its workers has made up the difference.
A response from the workforce, from the shareholders and from a number of people in the public and customers that have come in to support us.
Confusion over the bank deadline threatened to bring the whole rescue package unstuck. At one stage, workers were to have been issued termination notices today. That was until the Textile Clothing and Footwear Union wrote to the receivers, expressing confidence in Rundle's and asking that they hold off.
They have been very supportive to the company and to the workforce, and we've been full of praise for their support.
Once the receiver is discharged, the company will then turn its attentions to refinancing and restructuring.
It covers a lot of things. It covers the way we do our business, our pricing structures, some employee matters, but most of those have been taken care of, and just the way we do our business. We have a business plan and we'll be implementing it.
Rundle's will then have 6 months to turn the company's fortunes around and repay its workforce with secure jobs. Phil Hind, NBN News.